During the 60 or so years that I've been on this planet, I have become more and more convinced that if there is a designer or creator out there, then he, she, it or them are not interested in evidence, particularly the empirical scientific evidence that we would all like to have in a scientific technological world. If this designer or creator has been involved in any way with human affairs, then it appears to me that he, she, it or them have left the world like a crime scene. There's a clue here, there's a clue there, but otherwise nothing. The crime scene has been wiped clean by an expert. So it's up to us to find these clues and coincidences, if they are there, collect them together and come to some sort of conclusion. And the more I listen to the two sides of the atheist-theist debate, the more I'm sure that both sides have got it wrong. The atheist argues there is no evidence, and the believer argues that there is. The mistake is that both sides are looking in the wrong place for the wrong type of evidence. So over the next few months I hope to present approximately 20 to 30 very short videos, each containing one clue or link between the real world and the seemingly very unreal world of the Bible. The high number of these coincidences convince me that the universe has a reason and a designer behind it all, and that science, philosophy, the universe, the natural world and the Bible are strangely and unavoidably bound together. But why the Bible? Well, despite all its faults, such as extreme laws, contradictions, exaggerations and violence, it presents us with a message which cannot be ignored. That you and I have a reason to be here, that we need to be saved from ourselves, that the present world will come to an abrupt and violent end, and finally that we can have a life and a future in a totally different world which will follow. It all sounds speculative and unlikely, but it's backed up by prophecies which have already come true, prophecies which are coming true today, and prophecies in the future. I would have stopped reading or believing the Bible many years ago if it hadn't have been for prophecies, such as the 4 horses of the Apocalypse, or the statue of Nebuchadnezzar's dream, as you can see on the screen. Virtually every chapter in the Bible has a prophecy, either meant literally or by metaphor and allegory. There are over 1,000 chapters in the Bible, so there must be at least 500 prophecies. Our first clue or link is this statue. I'm going to show 4 maps in quick succession. They show the history of the Middle East from about 600 BCE to 400 CE. First we have the Babylonian Empire, then the Persian Empire, then the Greek, and finally the Roman Empire. These maps were not invented by some unknown cartographer, but represent actual empires won or conquered over approximately 1,000 years of history, with thousands if not millions of people dying in dozens of wars and unmentionable violence. These 4 empires were prophesied one by one by a prophet called Daniel, hundreds of years before they happened. This is our link or clue from the crime scene of Earth. Here are a couple of verses from Daniel chapter 2. This was the dream, and now we will interpret it to the king. Your Majesty, you are the King of Kings, you are that head of gold. After you another kingdom will arise, inferior to yours. Next a third kingdom, one of bronze, will rule over the whole earth. Finally there will be a fourth kingdom, strong as iron, for iron breaks and smashes everything, and as iron breaks things to pieces, so it will crush and break all the others. In the same prophecy, Daniel also described the present-day Middle East and Europe very accurately by saying this: as the toes were partly iron and partly clay, so this kingdom will be partly strong and partly brittle. And just as you saw the iron mixed with baked clay, So the people will be a mixture and will not remain united any more than iron mixes with clay. Don't you think this sounds familiar? Where in every city today, people of every nationality and all types of religion and background live side by side in the same place. And to be politically correct, we call it ethnic diversity or urban culture, but the reality is quite different. We live side by side, but we are forever separated by religious beliefs, unspoken racial discrimination and cultural differences. So let's look at the prophecy so far. It was based on a statue which King Nebuchadnezzar had seen in a dream, and Daniel was called to interpret what it meant. Here's a statue with the head of gold, the chest and arms of silver, the belly and thighs of bronze, the legs of iron, and the feet of iron and clay. Each part of the statue represents the basic history of the Middle East and Europe in the last 3,000 years. Remember, this was written at least 100 years before the collapse of the First Empire and 2,000 to 3,000 years before today. Well, that should be quite sufficient for most people, but the prophecy isn't finished. At the end of Nebuchadnezzar's dream, a large rock is thrown at the statue's feet and completely demolishes it. In the time of those kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom that will never be destroyed, nor will it be left to another people. It will crush all those kingdoms and bring them to an end, but it will itself endure forever. This is the meaning of the vision of the rock cut out of a mountain, but not by human hands. A rock that broke the iron, the bronze, the clay, the silver and the gold to pieces. So 4 parts of this prophecy have already happened, and the 5th part is happening right now. What are the odds that the 6th part will happen in the future? And how did Daniel, or whoever wrote the book called Daniel, know all this?